Hey, creator kings and queens. Welcome to Business Models for Creators, the show where we explore the reality of people living their creator dream and help you turn your creator dream into reality. I'm your host, Jasmine Love, and today we have a guest I am so excited to speak to. Our guest is Becca, an indie erotica writer, voice actress, and mom of two hilarious girls. She's also my former Meisner acting partner and an old friend that I am so excited to have. Everybody, even though we can't hear you, let's show Becca some love. Welcome her to Business Publisher Creators. Go, Becca. Go.
Thank you.
Yes. So I'm really curious, and we jump right into our first segment called content sponging. As creators, we all have to keep our creative juices flowing by reading, listening to stuff, watching the stuff. So I'm curious, what are you into consuming right now? It could be video, audio, books, whatever.
All right. So to decompress, I've been watching Netflix at night, and I've been watching stand-up comedy, which for getting ideas, I mean, that's not the best, but reality TV too, like Love is Blind. But there's a show called Triptych. It is this Mexican TV show. It's a Netflix exclusive, and I watch it with the dubbing, and it's done so well, you would not even know it was dubbed. I even looked up who did the dubbing because I'm like, whoa, this is so good. They're amazing. And so it's sci-fi. Well, no, well, parts of it are, but it's based on a real story. So I can't really say it's sci-fi, but it's about this woman who finds people who look exactly like her with the same birthday. And the part that's kind of sci-fi, that's definitely not based on a true story, is that they like share thoughts, and before ever meeting each other, they share memories. And I'm like, no, that's not based on a true story. But
No, I don't know. People are probably gonna call me woo or whatever, but I have shared thoughts with people and stuff like that.
that's
Had a little bit of
cool.
telepathy. Yeah, actually, it happens more often than I would like. I can't do it on command, but I have done. I have had people pick up on my thoughts, and I've picked up on their thoughts. So sue me if people think I'm
Ooh,
crazy.
that's cool. I mean, I feel I've done that too, like when I'm on the same wavelength with people, definitely, where we have the same thoughts. And I remember that happening a couple times with us. Like, so we go back a long way, people.
Yes, way, way back.
Yes, we figured out 17 years now, and that's the last time we saw each other. But yeah, I remember there were times. I remember there was one time when you were like, I think it was in the sound booth, and I turned around like right when you came in there. I don't know if you remember that, and you got so freaked out because it's like I knew you were there.
Oh, I don't remember. I don't remember. But yeah,
Yeah,
me and Becca used to do theater, college theater together when we were youth, when we were young.
I know.
Oh, and this is cool. I'm like jumping the gun, but most people don't end up doing what they went to school for. But like in a way, you're kind of doing. Well, were you a theater major or theater minor?
Major.
Yeah, so you end up doing
Yeah.
what you gone to school for. So yeah, we're going to jump into a day in the life of a creator where we explore the day to day of what it's like to be a specific type of creator so you can know if that's the path for you or not. So did you always know you wanted to be a writer and an actress or either or both?
So I knew from like forever, ever, ever that I wanted to be an actress. For sure. I never thought of voice actress. There are things I never even thought of course, like especially as a kid. I didn't know voice acting was a thing, but always an actress. But like one on TV. Like a famous actress.
Me
And
too.
then
I did too, but anyway,
yeah,
continue.
and then I think it was 6th grade when I was like, well, actually no, it's before then, when I wanted to be a writer too, because in 4th grade I wrote a play and I sent it to a playhouse. And I was like, maybe they'll actually, produce it. No. Okay. I'm sure it was terrible, but I tried. And then I wrote a story with my friend. We actually combined our names, and we're like, we're gonna grow up to be writers and we're gonna work together. And we haven't talked to each other in forever, so no. But we that was the goal. So yeah, both.
That is so cool. I think it's such a cute idea of the friends teaming up and writing together.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just started writing songs with my best friend, so it's like really fun to collaborate like that.
that's cool.
Yeah, before you walk me through a day in your life, I want to
Mhm.
know how you learned these skills. How did you continue to develop as a writer? And then how did you learn the voiceover skills, both the actual acting and then the technical sound requirements for it?
Right. So with writing, I mean, like writing and acting, it was stuff that I just did for fun, like growing up. And so I did take acting classes in like in high school and stuff, but I don't know if that's like really good experience. But was it? So I did Power of the Pen too when I was in middle school, and that's like this national writing competition. So I did that, and then I kind of stopped writing for years and years and years. 2010 comes, and a friend of mine is really into fan fiction. And so she sees it was a prompt that someone put out wanting people to write about. And she's telling me this prompt. And so I took a stab at it. And at first, I was just kind of like, it was my first time writing in years. I was not taking it seriously at all until I did start taking it seriously. I just took that prompt so seriously, it ended up being so long. And I was like, whoa, I'm like, I love doing this. So I started writing all the time after that. And then I did National Month of Writing the year after that. And I started this story. I still love the story, but I need to do stuff to it. And then 2016 came and I decided I'm like, I really, really like want to learn how to write
Yeah.
for real. Cause like this is what I want to do. I want to write a book while my kids are taking their naps. And so, because I used to write every single day while they napped. And so I decided that I was going to take a break from writing and I was just going to read and research how to write. So I did that. 2017, I took a class at a learning center
Wait, let's
here.
go back to you reading. Is there any favorite book that like really made a difference in your writing process?
Yeah, okay. So Colleen Hoover is one of my very favorite writers. And I started reading her, I think in 2013, 2012, like when she first came out. And her writing is phenomenal because it's so, there's something so lifelike about it. I don't know, her writing style is great. She doesn't necessarily do erotica or anything, but I love her writing. And so I kind of model my writing a little bit like her story, the way I do storytelling on hers, because it's so good. So that's kind of been like my role model. And so I'm like, I want to write well.
Yeah, she's
I
really
want to be like
prolific
her.
too. I haven't read one of her
Yeah,
books, but I've noticed she has a lot of them.
she does. She does. Definitely. I don't know how she does that. I think she stays in hotels. That's how she does it. She's got kids and stuff and a family, but she goes to hotels and she writes.
Oh, that's
That's
what
how
Maya
she does it.
Angelou did too. Yeah.
Oh, I wish I could do that.
Yeah,
How
so
I'd get
so
something done.
yeah, you took this and then you took this class.
And I
Like,
took this class, and so there's lots of writing, different writing styles and stuff, continued writing, and, just never stopped. And so I'd say I learned through all that and then just practice, 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 practice. 'Cause I've done
yeah.
so much now. And then with acting, I did different acting camps growing up, and I talked about the classes and stuff, and then, went to school for it, got a degree. And so that's pretty much my background doing that. Now, with the technical side, I'm pretty much self taught. I did take one
Nice.
class, it was a few hours long, but there was a lot to learn. Like, I'm still learning about that. It's so hard because I do sound effects and I do all the mastering myself. And a lot of people have just hire people to do that. I don't, I do it all myself. And so it's taken a lot of research and trial and error and experience because I've done about 500 audios now. So
Whoa, that's crazy.
yeah.
And it's
So,
crazy you do it on your own. I definitely hire someone to like edit this and do the sound. I couldn't imagine doing it on my own.
yeah, well, I couldn't either in the beginning. And then it was just when I started monetizing, which I know we'll get to, but that's when I was like, this is I have to, like, be serious about it now and learn all this stuff.
Yeah. So walk me through a day like, well, first of all, walk me through a week. Are there certain days you do the writing, certain days you do recording, or is it more like the day is split up? The morning is writing, the afternoon's recording, or like how's that work out?
Okay. So the main thing is recording can only be done while my kids are at school or when they're in bed.
Mhm,
And so that really limits when recording can be done. Like there aren't really certain days. Well, Saturday or Sunday during the day, it's not going to happen. And I don't really want to do it at night on a Saturday or a Friday. And so usually I try to do that during the day while they're at school. Edit That's hard to do when they're around too because I have on my headphones and they're noisy and they interrupt me every second and I have to take off my headphones, do stuff for them, answer their questions, and they just kinda, like, prattle on. That's one of those things that could be done whenever. Sometimes I just go upstairs and I work on it away from them. Then there's things like Twitter. I do whenever, even in the middle of the night, because that's the easiest thing. So I
mhm,
do that whenever. Marketing's the same way. I can do that with them around. So the main things recording that has to be done at a certain time, I usually do whatever's the most important. That gets done. Like that's the priority. That's what gets done first. And then if there's like grunt work to do, I save that for if I don't have anything to do or if like the weekend or just, the kids are around, they can be bothering me. It doesn't matter. That's like accounting. And
Wait, you
um
can do accounting with
I
kids
do
in the background?
yeah.
Wow,
So I do
okay.
that. And, like, database stuff, like, filling in, like, the metadata for, like, my audios and stuff, so I do that I can do whenever. But the main things that need to be done at a certain time are recording and the editing just because it's so hard with them around. Because I have to listen. Because I have to hear, like, little tiny noises. Because there could
Mhm.
be, like, little pops or, there's so many little things.
Yeah, and then about how long are your stories? How many words, and then how many minutes does it make for recording?
I would say 20 minutes is kinda like my we'll say 20 minutes. I mean, they can be 40 minutes too, but I'd say 20 minutes is, like, the average.
Yeah, and then about how many words is a 20-minute
So
story?
that's about 2,000 words.
Yeah, okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Wait, so you could crank out a lot of them with and then they're each a separate I'm, like, jumping ahead to monetization, we'll get to it, but each is a separate package, so that's actually pretty smart. I like that idea more than a 50,000 word book or even a 30,000 word novella. I like the snack bites, I like that.
Yeah.
And then when how often do you write? Do you, like, write in bulk and then record in bulk, or is it you write then record, write then record?
So I'm gonna say I don't usually write. Like, I come up with the ideas, and I normally do improv because that takes less time than, like, writing everything. So, normally, I do improv. Writing is if I cannot record for some reason, then I use the time to write it all out, and then I'll write
Mhm,
out the whole script. But usually, I don't even write out the entire thing. I'll improv, like, whatever parts. There have been times sometimes I do write it all out, but if like, when I was sick, I would just was writing out scripts. And then when I felt better, I could record them. But yeah, I do it one by one pretty much.
yeah, and that's intriguing to, like, riff a story. It's how, like, just improv it and have, like, is there dialogue or is it just a narrative?
Dialogue. Yeah. So I started out doing pretty much narratives and then I moved on to like role plays where it's all dialogue. And yeah, so it's improv is something that I was horrible at the beginning.
Mm.
I've gotten so much better at it. I couldn't really do it. Like I had to close my eyes in order to do it. And like it took me forever and a million years to get anything out, to even like think of things. I'm so much better at it now, but it's not something that I could do live or anything like that for people because it still takes forever.
I'm
It's a
super
skill.
curious though. I mean, obviously I heard of improv and that was actually my strongest suit as an actress, like live improv on stage, but I never heard of like improv in a story, especially not erotica, but any kind of fiction really. So I'm curious, where'd you get this idea to improv from?
So when I first started doing this, I would write out the stories in full and then I would just after I wrote it out, I would do an improv of it. And that was because I tried reading it and I'm like, this is just like too stiff and like it's more natural if I act it out and do an improv. instead of
Mhm.
just like reading from the page. And now I can do both pretty naturally. But like in the beginning, not really. And I will say that usually, even if it's improv, like I've thought ahead of time about what I'm going to do, sometimes I take some notes. Sometimes there are parts where like the character's talking to me and like they're saying things. And I'm like, okay, I need to make sure I say that line. That's great. So like I'll write it down ahead of time. So usually I know what I'm going to do ahead of time. I won't know the whole story probably. I might not know any of like the erotic action that's going to happen. That just kind of comes to me as I go. But, I'll, like, know, like, the main points that I wanna hit. Although there have been times when I get in front of a microphone and I'm like, "What am I gonna do?" And I just come up with something. While I record, I just come up with the whole story.
That is
That's more
so
rare, but
cool. And then, like you mentioned in the beginning, you weren't that good at it. You weren't as good at the improving or at the sound and
oh.
editing. I'm curious, what got you to stick to it and get through that learning curve?
So what I did when I was awful at it was I started doing scripts from other people. And editing didn't make too much of a difference, except for the fact that I had to do it perfectly because I couldn't edit. I didn't know what to do. So I'm like, if I make a mistake, I got to do it all over again from the beginning. I'm like, that's not going to work. It's like I've done this 25-minute script 3 times already, and I'm like, okay, gotta learn how to edit. And then, I had to, like, learn how to and then I was doing that on my phone. So I was recording on my phone, which is awful quality, and then I was editing on my phone too, and that was so difficult. So then I actually started using, like, computer programs and stuff, and I had to learn, especially when I started monetizing. I'm like, "This has to be really good quality." And, like, the editing has to be really good. The recording has to be really good. I want sound effects. I want the whole thing if, I'm gonna be monetizing. And so that was, like, a big thing that made me learn because I don't want it to be poor quality, and I'm a perfectionist. So when it was just a hobby and I was doing it for free and it was just for fun, it wasn't that great. But it was my creative outlet and the only one I had at the time. And that's when also when, like, COVID was beginning, and so lockdowns, and
Oh,
I
yeah, well,
needed an
everybody else
outlet.
was baking. I think it was sourdough. I didn't do it, but
Oh,
I think
everyone's
everybody
making
else.
bread.
Yeah, and then you were making stories. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I was just, like, watching the news. I did oh, no, I started a YouTube channel that I have since abandoned, but I made YouTube videos and, like, news junkied. I didn't do anything cool. I didn't make bread. I didn't start carpentry or, like,
I
anything
did
like that.
not like, I didn't do anything productive except this. It's the only thing that I got done, the only thing that I did. I did start it before COVID started, but I started, like, just a handful of months beforehand. So, it was just during that time period, though, when I was still in the same
Yeah.
time period pretty much.
Yeah, a lot of people's creativity blew up. Well, let's move on
Yeah.
to marketing and monetization methods where we talk
Okay.
about how to make money as a creator. So I'm curious, how did you get the idea to monetize this? You were already doing it as a hobby. What made you want to
Mhm.
turn it into a money vehicle?
Well, I was finding that so many other people doing the same thing as me were monetizing. But the thing is they did not have the degree, they didn't have any acting experience, they didn't have any of the same experience I have, no experience writing, nothing. And I was like, wait a second. I have not made even a cent off of my degree. And I love acting. And I missed it so much. And I'm like, wait a sec. Plus I was doing commissions for free too. And people would say, "How much can I pay you?" I'm like, "Oh, it's free." And I was like, "What am I doing?
Yes, what are
What
you
am I
doing?
doing?" So I was like, "Okay." I came to my senses. I'm like, "I gotta charge." So I started charging for commissions when I did everything else. And so that's what made me do it. I'm like, wait a sec. I think it's okay to get paid to do what you love. And I think I felt bad about that. And that's what happens with creatives, like artists. All those people expect them to work for free. And that's not fair because it's a lot of
No.
work. And
Yeah, I'm glad you said that. I really want people to hear it. It's okay to get paid doing what
yes,
you love.
definitely. It is. And, it really hit me. And I'm like, okay, I should not feel ashamed about this. I shouldn't feel bad about it. And I still hear people like saying tons of stuff on Twitter and everywhere else, like shaming people for it. But whatever. Like, I have a degree in this. I spent a lot of money. I'm not doing it for free.
Exactly, and also you're providing value, like, I never have problems paying for entertainment, like, my content that I like, the books, the shows, YouTube shows, I love them so much, I want to pay my creators,
Same.
and yeah, I can't understand the mindset of, "Oh, you should do it for free," like, if somebody makes me laugh or teaches me something, I wanna give them dollars, like, I wanna give them some money.
Exactly. Yes. Support artists for sure.
Exactly, so I'm curious, when you were getting commissions, how were those coming through? Like, how did people reach you?
It was through personal messages on like Reddit, stuff like that. And I would just be like, sure, yeah, I'll do it to all of them. I'm like, nah, I don't know why.
Yeah, well, at least you got your hours in, your reps in, and get good at it.
Right. That's true. Like that was experience and, you know, possibly paying customers later. I don't know.
Yeah, so it sounds like you've been sharing on Reddit and Twitter, is that correct?
I've got other platforms too, but I'm gonna stick to that, not like give out too much information.
Yeah.
Because I do use a pen name and I don't give that out. So I don't want to dox myself or anything like that. So
Oh, yeah,
there
that's
are,
smart.
yeah, there are different platforms that I use. Some free, not free.
Yeah, and so tell me how you made your first dollar doing this when you first started charging.
All right, so I decided I was kind of like, should I, shouldn't I? And I guess I was really afraid of like what my listeners would think of me. I don't know why, because I'm not making any money anyway. So I'd already started a little community. And so I asked everyone, I'm like, what do you think about me doing a Patreon? And I had a poll, and then, everyone was like, "Yeah, do it. I would totally pay." I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll do it." And then, I planned when I was gonna launch, and I just was, like, doing a countdown for it. And so when, like, I wanted people to be prepared for, like, the day and time this was gonna happen.
Mhm.
And so, I had a handful of people become patrons the first day. I also started doing commissions that same day too. And I think I got a commission that same day. I got like 9 patrons. And so it was exciting.
Yeah, and now walk me through how the patron works. What do they get? And is it like a monthly subscription or like
Mhm.
how does it work? Are there tiers?
So yeah, I've got tiers. It's a monthly subscription. And I mean, they have different ways you can do it. I think where you can like pay like per thing that you post. I don't do that. Like you pay for the month and you get exclusive content. So I'll do stories, audios. That's what we call them. So I'll make audios, and they'll get a certain amount or whatever every month. And different tiers might get less. Other tiers get more. And that's the gist of it.
And then how do commissions work? Somebody is just like you call into the DJ and make a request and then you just put it in.
So I nowadays there's an official way to do it, and I try to like put the information everywhere, but a lot of times people still don't see it. That's okay. They message me and they ask. So I have my website, and then I have a commission section on the website with all the information, everything that people would want to know, and they fill out a form, and then I get back to them after they fill out the form.
And how much do you charge for commissions?
At the beginning, at the beginning, it was not very much. I'm like, "I don't know, $40 seems like a lot to ask from people," and I felt so guilty. Now I would say it's anywhere from, like, 100 to, like, 200 something. Like, the bare minimum, like, even if it's a minute long, it would be, like, 100, which is not something I would have done ever. I would have gone, "Oh, that's just free. You don't have to pay for that if it's short." But now I'm like, "Nope, everyone pays."
Yeah, and how did you get to that point? How did you work through the artist guild to like, I deserve it and I'm gonna charge? What was that process? Was there a coach, a book, or what happened?
Part of it was, like, the feedback I was getting from these commissions, how everyone would tell me, "You went, like, way up and above what I was even expecting." I was expecting way, like, lower than, like, what you gave me. And, I definitely got my money's worth, and, like, everyone was saying these comments to me. And then people would come back the same day that I gave like, finished a commission, and then they would get a new one. And so I'm like, "Okay, I think I can charge more to get over this
Yeah,
guilt."
supply and demand.
Right, exactly. And I remember talking to my doctor about this. I'm like, "I don't know what to do. Like, I'm so busy. I'm staying up late every night. I get all these commissions plus on top of everything else." And she's like, charge more.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, I don't know about that. She's like, charge more. She's
Yeah.
like, you're so busy, you're just gonna keep getting them, so charge more. And then exactly, supply and demand.
Nice. That's such a
Yeah,
big growth moment to break through that
mhm,
money mindset and that guilt to charge and like really monetize it. That is amazing.
exactly.
And that's what
And
I
yeah,
hope
now
people learn from listening to this show, like so they can
yeah,
do it too.
the guilt, I mean, I don't have much guilt anymore. Like, there I would say even, like, when I get people wanting something for free now because of this, that, and the other thing, I used to be like, "Sure, fine, whatever." And now I don't mind being like, "Well, become a patron, do this." 'Cause
Yeah.
I know it's worth it. And I know yeah. So, yeah, I've come a long way.
Yeah. And speaking of the timeline coming a long way, how long did you do it as a hobby before you monetized?
I did it for almost a year as a
Wow.
hobby and just doing it for free and doing all those commissions. I think I started doing commissions the first month I started doing it. People wanted me to take commissions. So,
Wow.
yeah, and so I was like, it's okay to monetize
You must really
eventually.
love it though, because that's a lot of
I do.
longevity. A lot of people cannot stick to a new venture for a
Mm.
whole year. And that's the demise of most creators that they just can't stick with it long enough.
Yes, and that's so true. And that's the way I am usually. Like, usually I have my hobbies, I do them, and then, like, every couple months I switch to something else and, like, switch back eventually, like, a year later to what I was doing. So I remember thinking, like, "I don't think I'm gonna be doing this by the end of the year." This is when I first started, and it was just a
Mhm.
couple months until the end of the year. And I'm like, "I doubt I'll be doing this. I love it so much, but will I really be doing it? Like, I know how I am." And then, once it was almost a year, and I'm like, "This is still my favorite thing in the world to do." And I should talk about this because this is so true. I was terrified that I would stop liking it if I monetized. I was like, "What? I don't wanna think of it as a job because I love it so much, so am I gonna start hating it if I start monetizing?" That has not happened. It's been almost 4 years, hasn't happened. I love it.
Wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
and what do you think made the difference between? Because you said there were other things you love, but you still would drop them and come back. So
Mhm.
what made the difference this time?
And I had figured that out too because I was wondering, I'm like, "What is it?" What it is this sounds so bad. It's validation
Hey!
because like, when I was doing my nails, it's like, I can't show them to that many people.
Yeah.
And, I was doing my makeup, like, that was something I do, like, all these cool, like, makeup looks. It's like, yeah, I was putting them on Instagram and everything, but no one knew who I was. I had, like, 100 followers, but it was validation because 'cause I'm like, when I was doing this, so many people were saying it, and I was getting so much feedback and, all the commissions and stuff, and I'm like, that helps
Hey,
with creative stuff.
I'm glad you're saying that because so many people are like, "Don't do it for likes and blah, blah,
Right.
blah, vanity metrics," but that can keep you motivated.
Mhm. It does, 'cause I like, the feedback feels so good, and a constant stream of feedback, like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, that is awesome, and, like, with the
Mm.
monetization, what percentage of your income is commissions and what percentage are Patreon subscriptions?
So, I would say about half is, like, Patreon.
Mhm.
This is how it normally is. I haven't been able to work for a couple months. I've been sick, but the way it normally is Patreon, which has become my full income. But normally it's half my income, and then half, a quarter is commissions, and a quarter is, the other place where I post them.
Got you. So, since you love it so much, you've stuck with it so long, do you always feel motivated to work on it, or are there times where you don't feel motivated?
Okay, so in the beginning, when it was like my only creative outlet and I was going crazy because my kids were so young and like, I had a toddler that I always had to take care of, stay at home mom. So at the beginning, it I was very like, I'm like, "Okay, I'm gonna record every single day." And of course, I wasn't really editing, so I was just, like, putting stuff out every day. And I'm like, "Oh, this" it was great. But, as time has gone on by and I have to spend more time on everything because the process is so long now, I can't do that. And also, it's just yeah, even though I love it okay, well, here's the big thing. I have to get my kids ready in the morning. So I wake up and then I have to get them ready. I gotta make their lunches. I gotta give them breakfast. I gotta get them to the bus stop, get them ready for school. And then it's 9 o'clock at that point. And the thing is that like I haven't relaxed yet. I haven't done anything yet. I'm still tired because I'm not a morning person at all. Like I get my energy at 1 p.m. That's when I get my energy. I have to get them from the bus stop at 3:30 p.m. Oh, it's not good. So I am not motivated at all at 9. No way. So I'm like, okay, I decompress for like a half hour, hour or so, and I have to somehow like motivate myself. So I've taken different supplements for this because I just 1 p.m. to 3:30 p.m. That's 2.5 hours to work every day. So I've
Yeah.
taken like yeah, so I've taken Proper Wild, which is like a caffeine shot with L something, which is supposed to like
Is it
boost your mood and
L-theanine or something?
something. Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah. Supposed to like calm you down, boost your mood, and like make you focused and whatever. So that does help, but if you take it like too often, it stops helping. So if you take it like once in a while, it helps. So I just do half a shot of that. I also have started taking supplements. They've got Uber Energy. So I've been trying that. I don't know if I'm feeling anything from it, but I found that if I try to take a nap, I can't nap. So I guess I am. And because I just get so tired in the morning. Also, they have one called Calm, which also has the L side, whatever, has that
Yeah.
ingredient in it. So I do that. Anything to help me get motivated and focused and like ready to go. It's
Yeah,
hard. It's so hard.
oh, thanks for admitting it's hard though, because I was just like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
wanna be one of those people who loves it so much that it's just easy and I just do it."
No, 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 no. It's so, so hard to get going. I'm a huge procrastinator too. It's so bad. So I have to take supplements.
What what do you usually do when you procrastinate?
I'll play Angry Birds. I'll nap.
Oh
I'll
my
just play
god.
around I'll go like online window shopping.
Yeah, there's so many distractions, but then
So
you have your supplements, and then do you have any other things, like mindset things or looking at old testimonials for the validation or anything
I
else like
should
that?
do that. I should do that. No. I This is something I need to work on, and I know I'm gonna probably talk about it later too, is that I really need like a really good routine because I have bought so many like different things for productivity, like stuff on Kickstarter, this and that. And I'm like, I need to be productive. I need productivity tools. And I've tried so many things and I just can't stick to it. So hard.
Yeah. It is hard, but I feel like you're doing it. You've been doing the same craft for 4 years. You're doing it.
Yeah, I'm doing it, but the thing is, like, it's so hard to do it, like, while the kids are at school, because then I'm, like, working while they're home, and I feel so bad doing that. It's like, I wanna be able to just work during that chunk of time, but I can't do it. Like, some days I do. Like, it has happened where I've completed, like, recording, editing, sound effects while they're at school. It's happened, like, once or twice. It
Mhm.
happened. But it's very rare. It can take 3 days sometimes 'cause if an audio is long and if it's a very complex story, it's gonna take 3 days. It's gonna take a long time. And so, sometimes I just work at night too, and I don't wanna do that.
Yeah. Well, like I said, at least you're getting it done. And then, in addition to, well, actually, do you have a favorite part of your process and a least favorite part of your
Yes.
process?
Favorite part is the sound effects. I've realized I really love that. It's I think the most creative part, like, aside from, like, writing everything out, which I said is, like, I rarely get to do that, but sometimes like, recently, I have gotten to write full scripts. But the sound effects is the most creative part of it because I make, like, whole soundscapes and stuff like that. And so it's like sometimes telling a story, which is sound effects alone almost. And especially if I'm doing someone else's script, that's, like, the biggest creative part I have. So that
Mhm.
and it can be the performing, like, in the beginning when it was just basically performing because I wasn't editing or anything, like, I just loved doing the performing so much. Now, thing is since I've done about 500 of these now, if it's gonna be the performing, it's gotta be something super unique and something that's, like, funny, and it's just gotta really, like it's gotta stand out. If
Yeah.
the performing part if I'm gonna like it more than the sound effects part. I mean, no matter what, I love performing, but if I'm gonna like it more than doing sound effects, then it has to really, like, be top tier, like, the material, something very different than what I've done 500 times or, however many times. And then my least favorite, oh god, editing. So that would be listening and taking out, like, mistakes, and I do several takes of lines sometimes because I wanna see, like, what works the best, and taking out all those extra takes and listening to, like, all the electrical noises that get in there and then, like, mouth noises, stuff like that. It takes hours and hours and hours, and especially if I have 40 minutes recorded or something, or even more than that. I've had over an hour recorded before, and it just takes forever. It's tedious, it's boring. I always fall asleep while doing it, and I'm like, "Okay, time to take a little break, walk around the house, maybe nap." I hate it. I hate it so much. It's
Yeah.
definitely the longest part of the process. It takes up all the time. Everything else, like sound effects, can take a while, but nothing like editing. Like, nothing like editing.
And how do you get yourself to do the editing? Because it does sound like the not fun part.
It's hard, but, mainly because it's gotta get done. So, what's funny is that, it's so hard for me to get motivated if I have to start a project from scratch.
Mhm.
That's when it's really hard. But if it's, like, doing the editing, I can start that early in the day. That's okay. It needs to get done. Then I can get to the sound effects and then I can get it out there. And like, I've already thought of the story, recorded. So it's like I'm halfway done. Well,
Oh, yeah.
editing's not really halfway, beginning editing, but I've done some of the steps already. So it's not as bad. So I'd say it's just gotta get done. So I do it with lots of breaks.
Ah, there's a secret. Take the break.
Breaks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I couldn't imagine. Like, I am so grateful to my editor. This podcast would not exist without her because, like, I don't have a stomach for the tedium.
So tedious. I hate
And with
it.
fiction is harder. It's harder. My brother's
Mhm.
a professional podcast fiction editor, and he
Oh.
said it can take some time. And he's like a real precise guy, like a INTJ personality type. So they can do the tedium a little bit more than us pure artists, but even he said it can be tedious.
Yes, tedious, always tedious, every time. Never gets less tedious. No matter how much I like the story that I'm telling, and no matter how much, like, when the audio's done, sometimes I'll, like, listen to the audio several times, like, "I really like it," but I will not if, like, with editing, I don't enjoy even listening to it no.
Yeah, and so but with you've done so many stories. How do you keep even the creative part fresh? How do you keep coming up with fresh ideas and not let it all get stale?
So I get ideas from, like, everywhere, and this is kinda crazy. There's a site called Creative Fabrica. It's got
Oh,
fonts and, like, lots of crafting stuff. I saw ads for it on Facebook, and I'm like, "Oh, I'll try that out." I I do too many Facebook ads. Anyway, so I started looking at fonts for my marketing, and I started getting all these story ideas just from fonts alone. And,
whoa.
like, yeah, which crazy. I did not expect that. And that I got tons and tons and tons. And so they're from, like, little things like that and sounds too, like the sound of a spray paint can shaking. I got 2 ideas from that. So they come from, like, the strangest places. Usually when I'm in bed, I get a lot of ideas. In the shower, I get ideas. Like, if I'm doing something mindless, tons
Mhm.
of ideas. So I don't really feel like I'm at a point where anything's stale, which is good. The only thing I worry about, though, is since I do erotica, I do worry sometimes that the actions could get stale. Eh,
Mhm. Yeah,
so
there's only so many ways to do the hokey pokey.
right, right, exactly. And that's when I worry about stuff getting stale. And yeah. And then the other thing is that even though I get lots of different ideas for stuff, also I've been keeping a list since 2016 of ideas. Because back then it was because I wanted to write books. And so, like, I write down so many ideas. And I have the exact same list still going with all my ideas for audios and everything else. And so I've been doing this forever. So I have a lot of ideas written down. And even like parts of ideas. Like, even just a word, something like that, that inspires me and
Yeah.
things like that. And, so yeah, the idea well is usually pretty full. But I will say there have been times when no matter how many ideas I have written down, I'm not feeling creative. And the well is dry, even though there's all these ideas. Like if I'm really stressed or something or depressed or who knows what, it can be hard to be creative even when I have all these ideas written down. I'm still like, I can't do any of this. I can't think of like a whole story. I can't. That's happened for sure, but that hasn't happened in a while, which is good. That
Good.
usually
And
happens if I'm burned out, but I haven't been burned out in a very long time. So,
oh, good. And do the supplements help with the creativity or just the energy?
probably energy,
Yeah.
if it helps at all.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
a toss up.
exactly. Yeah, the creativity usually happens. I feel like if I'm happy, I feel a lot more creative, and if, like, things are going really well, especially if, like, there's, like, great feedback or something like that, I don't know, if things are going well and, like, my mood is up, that's when I'm most creative for sure, and that's when it's good to get all the ideas down because 'Cause I've
See, that's
definitely not written them down and then completely forgotten them.
That's interesting you say when things are going well, because there's
Mhm.
this myth of the torture artist. Like some people think they
Oh, yeah.
need their depression, they need their angst, they need their suffering to be creative. But you're saying like the happiness makes you creative. That's
Yes.
awesome.
Oh god, depression. I no, if I'm feeling depressed, I cannot think of anything. I can't record. I just not creative at all.
Yeah, the only
So,
thing I can do depressed is poetry. That's about it. But
that
other
makes a
than
lot of
that,
sense.
yeah, because the angst pours out. But like
Right.
I can't write
Yes.
fiction, I can't write sales copy, I can't really perform. But poetry, like if I'm pissed or depressed, I can do some poetry. But or in
Makes
lyrics, some
sense.
lyrics too. But
Lyrics,
everything else
yes.
I can do happy. Yeah.
Anything angsty. But and you know
Yeah.
what? It could also be, like, the type of work that I do that's not I mean, I have done angsty stuff that's erotica, but for the most part, erotica is not that angsty.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I don't know if I can swear on this, but,
No,
like,
you
if
could
there's,
yeah. I'm not
like
monetized yet, so swearing's allowed.
like, hate fucking, I that's a fun one. So yeah, that's angsty.
I did one angsty erotica book, but I regretted it because it gave me nightmares, even though it wasn't gruesome, it was
Mm,
just angsty. But I was following a trend. 50 Shades of Grey was like the book
mhm.
back then. So I did a BDSM book, but I don't like BDSM. Like I find it off-putting, but I wrote it for the money. And some people did find value in my story and like it, but I made it like the darkest BDSM, and it just made me torture for months and months as I was working on it. But, yeah, it came out with some of my readers said they cried when they read it. Like, people said it was hot, but people also found it kinda cathartic, but they cry, and that's weird to have people cry over an erotica book.
I'll admit though, I do stories that have, like, emotions and, like, I have my character sobbing or their character is sobbing, the listener sobbing, that kind of thing, because it's role play. So I have done, like, very emotional ones, even though
Oh,
it's
wow, I didn't know it
erotica.
was that common. Cause like, if you go into the erotic romance category in fiction, like on Amazon, the bestsellers, it's usually pretty, like, glossy and superficial, like alpha males and
Yeah.
billionaires, and it's usually not that emotional.
Right. Well, it's when I do the storytelling myself usually. If it's like the free stuff, I don't do my own storytelling for, but I do it just because that takes way too much time for me. But like for my own stuff, I like to tell a story. I guess porn with plot. I like there to be a story, and I feel weird just doing erotica, like for it just to be sex. My own stuff, it's not really like that. I try to have there be a whole like plot and all of that.
Do you have like a sub niche or kink like billionaires or BBW women or like whatever? Or do you go all the niches?
I really love enemies to lovers.
Ah,
Like, as I was talking about the hate fucking,
yes.
enemies to lovers is so much fun. It's so much fun to go from point A to point B. Like, how are you gonna get these 2 people to hate each other to have sex with each other?
That is a fun plot line for sure.
Yeah, that's my
Actually,
favorite.
My very first novel I ever wrote, erotic romance novel, was a enemies to lovers, but, like,
Uh-huh.
I accelerated it really fast. It went from enemies to lovers, like, really quick. It, like, jumped quick, but it did
So no
start out
slow
innocent.
burn.
No,
Yeah.
no, not at all. It was actually one of the critiques I got a lot of praise, but, like, I accelerated it too fast to the point where, like, plot-wise, it kinda didn't make sense. You know how in, like, actual porn, it doesn't make sense that it went so fast?
Yeah.
So I didn't know what I was doing. It was my first book, and, like, I did it too fast, but it was a fun I have fun writing it, so
That's what it's important. You had fun writing it.
exactly, and I learned
Yes.
as I grew. I've actually only written 4 books, but by my 4th one, I got, like, such good reviews, and it was good plot, good heat, everything.
Well, that's what happens. You definitely learn as you go. You get more experience as you go on, and that's how you grow for sure. And as I said, my earlier stuff, so bad.
See, no, I can't believe it because you were, like, in the genre. The reason my earlier stuff made mistakes is I jumped in for the money, to be honest. I saw 50 Shades of Grey, so I heard of all these women, a lot were stay-at-home moms writing short erotica, publishing on Amazon. And so I jumped into writing erotic romance without reading any. Like, I hastily read, like, 1 or 2. I
Gotcha.
read 50 Shades, and I wrote half of another book and started, like, writing, and I didn't understand the genre. So it wasn't until later when I started
Mhm.
reading a lot that I could write better, but that was my mistake.
Well, this is funny. With what I'll do, it was the same thing. Like, I didn't really listen to it. I just kind of found it and was like, I'm doing this. And so I was doing narratives in the very beginning, and those were not popular, not really that heard of. So everyone thought I was telling true stories about myself,
My God.
sex life.
My God.
Yeah, everyone thought they were real. And I'm like, no, no, this really happened to me.
Oh my God. That's
It
hilarious.
is. And so, I didn't realize, like, these are not popular. Like, everything's pretty much role play, which I was not doing. Plus, I didn't realize that so many people were doing sound effects too, and people, like I thought of it more as an audiobook, even though it was erotica, like, I was thinking of it as an audiobook. So when I was doing actual performing the erotica, I wasn't, like, trying to make it the sexiest thing ever. I was trying to make it, like, not like that because 'cause I'm like, "Well, I don't want it to be, like, porny or anything." And so,
Yeah.
if there was moaning, like, I didn't do it and so then I found out that the point was to make it, like, as sexy as possible, and I'm like, "Oh, that's so I had a lot to learn in the
Yeah,
beginning.
see, I wouldn't have known either. And I'm curious, what inspired you to take this route, like just doing the audios independent versus publishing on Amazon? Because Amazon is like the only way I ever heard of or ever knew. So, what inspired you to do this, like kind of more just online audio? I guess you could call it audio first
Mhm.
because it's not ebook first.
Right, right. Because yeah, I wanted to do the whole book thing, but the thing is that writing a book, I was not ready for it at all. So
Mhm.
I was just writing out, like, the erotica I was doing was very short because I couldn't think of, like, writing a whole book, just couldn't. So I wanted to get the short stuff out and for free, and that is actually how I found audio erotica, just looking for places to post this. And I was like, "Oh, wait, what's this?" And I also wanted to do, narrate audiobooks. And so I'm like, "Wait, this is like narrating audiobooks." And I get to write it myself, and that's why I started. And, I didn't think there was any reason to really listen to them first. I was just gonna do my own thing. And, I mean, I still had tons of listeners. It didn't matter that I was doing my own thing, but, it wasn't like what was super popular or anything.
Yeah, and I'm curious, how long did it take you to build your listenership from I'm doing this to I have a following?
So I never really felt like I had a big following, and then people were like, "Yeah, you do," and I'm like, "No, I don't." They're like, I'd say how many followers I have, and they're like, "You know what? Like, that's how many people used to live in my city." Stuff like that, and I was like, "Oh, okay. I guess
Wait,
it's
how many
okay."
followers do you
Well
have?
well, now I have about 8,000. In one
Yeah.
place, I have 8,000. Like, at the time, it was 1,000 something, like, they lived in a small town, but that's why I was like, "It's not a lot, because I know, like, the big people have, like, way more, and the people who've been doing it for years and, do, like, way better quality than what I was doing because I wasn't monetized yet or anything. It was just for fun. And so when I realized that I actually had a following, I guess when somebody would write to me and they'd say, like, they'd, give feedback. They like send like a DM or whatever, just saying, oh, your work is fantastic. Thank you. And then I respond, I'm like, oh, thank you so much. And then they would be like, wait, you responded? I never thought you would respond to me. Like, you're a superstar. Like, you're famous. And I was like, wait, what? Oh, I'm not, but oh, thank you.
That is awesome. That is so
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. And that's when I was like, okay, because people didn't think I'd ever write back in a million years. That'd be like me writing to Trent Reznor. No.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that'd be so cool if Trent wrote you
Oh,
back.
yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh, sweet. Fun story to loop it back in. So I got my very first piece of fan mail on my erotic fiction at a Trent Reznor concert. I was in line for the bathroom. Soundgarden had gone off. Trent was about to come on. I was like, I'm going to go to the bathroom real quick. And I'm standing in line. And it was actually an old classmate from high school that I didn't know in high school, but she bought my first erotic romance novel and it was in a DM. She's like, I stayed up overnight on a work night because your story was so good. I couldn't put it down. And I was like, oh my gosh. But then I went to the bathroom and I have a huge vomit phobia. And there was a bathroom covered in vomit. And I was just so disgusted. But I had to use that stall because the line was long and Trent was coming on. So I just squatted and like overcame my vomit phobia, was like glowing from my fan mail and ran out and saw Trent. And
That's
then knocked over the mic.
oh, that's quite the story. I
Yeah,
like how you could get past, like, the vomit and stuff too because of the feedback and, well, getting to see Trent, but
both together, like,
both
and I have
together.
I'm, like, really gross, like, when I
Oh, I
puke,
am
but
too.
yeah, but, like, the endorphins of the fan mail and Trent was
Mhm.
there, and so,
The
yeah.
exactly, and that's what I was talking about with the validation. It's the endorphins that you get from, like, this amazing feedback, and that's what kept me going.
Yeah, I can but see,
Yeah.
I wish it worked for me because what I wrote, like, 4 books and that's it, and like, I got so much feedback. I've gotten hundreds of positive reviews and I loved it. Don't get me wrong, I love the validation, but then I was like, "Oh, there's no more books in me." And
Oh,
that
I
was
was
a
wondering I didn't know if it was just because you wanted to move on to something else or because I know, like, you got your business side where you like working on different projects and yeah.
Yeah, oh, and also the market changed. So Amazon, it used to be well, I switched. So I wrote some of my own books, but then I actually hired a team of ghostwriters and I would
Oh,
create the plot and then I would send the plot to them, they would write it and I would edit it. So I had like a little factory of erotic
mm,
romance stories and it was going well, but then Amazon, like, changed something in the algorithm, and short stories stopped selling, and you
oh,
had to do novels, and the ones I wrote myself were novels, but I hire my ghostwriters to write shorts, but
mm,
it's expensive to hire someone to write a full-length book, and then also
yeah.
you're paying for the cover and the marketing, and so the overhead just got high, and the competition got high, and you know what, though? That is one of my life regrets. I wish I would have weathered that storm. I stayed in business longer than most people did, but I kinda just stopped, and I wish I would've, like, navigated it and kept going, but
I
I
hope you're
did not.
still selling those books at
Oh,
least.
I am. Yeah, I
Good,
still make
good,
some
good,
money off of them.
good,
Not a ton, but a little passive money in the background.
good. Because yeah, at least you can still get some revenue from that work, and it's nice because it's, passive income.
Exactly. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I just Facebook resurfaced the memory of some old reviews I got, and so I still get to feel the glow of the feedback because,
Oh,
like, the
great.
memories will come up. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I
Oh,
I
that
hope to get back into books again in a different genre. I don't have, like, an erotic bone in my body anymore. I'm all old and stuff, but I hope to write another book in some genre at
I
some
hope
point.
so. Great. And
Yeah.
that's actually, um, kind of hit on something that I wanted to talk about, like passive income.
Yeah.
um, which is a very good idea for people in like creative professions because I do get passive income. I do sell audios just on their own. And so that, you can't buy anywhere else or listen to anywhere else. And then that way, even 2 years after making the audio, I still make money off of it, which is
And how
nice.
if you can share without doxing yourself, how do you drive traffic to those standalone audios?
So the same way that I market anything else, like just sharing on Twitter. sharing on Reddit, sharing all like my website, because I have a blog where I talk about like everything that I put out. So it's all the same places where I talk
Mhm.
about it. So, 8,000 plus followers hear about it.
Do you
And
have an
that's how
email
do
list? A newsletter?
well, my website, people can do that. Unfortunately, like, only a few people have, and I thought
Mhm.
about that before, and I have not done it, but one of the platforms I use, I can send something to everybody who's ever, like, bought something from me, and so I do that whenever I post, and that is actually when I do the individual audio, so I send something out just going, this new audio came out, and then that's how I get sales. Plus, I've sold over 1,000 audios on there, which is cool.
That is so awesome. That is
Yeah.
so cool. So anything is possible, guys. A lot of people they don't want to be like enslaved by Jeff Bezos. So you don't have to do
Mhm.
Amazon. There are
Yes.
other ways to make money as a creative
Mhm.
in audio and in story. It doesn't have to be Audible and Amazon.
Exactly. I
Which
don't do
I didn't
any
know
Amazon.
you taught me, like, that's why I'm like, "Oh, I gotta have you on the show," because, like, I'm old school, I'm straight Amazon, Audible, that's all I know, and, of course, like, Barnes& and Noble or and, like, whatever,
Mhm.
but it really is Amazon and Audible, and so I didn't know there was this independent way.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, it can be hard because, if you look at something like Amazon, you can do a lot of promoting through Amazon. You can do sponsored stuff. You can basically, it's kind of like Etsy, where it's like a storefront. You can find Etsy works for you in a way. People
Mhm.
come to you instead of, you kind of going to them. So I say that's the challenge. It is more of a challenge to be indie. For example, we've talked about how, maybe we didn't talk about it yet. I don't remember how I don't think we did, but I anonymous. I haven't told anyone I know the name that I use, like my pen name. And so that is kind of difficult to market yourself that way. I'm sorry, maybe you were about to get to that.
We
Oh,
were going to, but since we're here,
since
let's
we're here,
dive.
let's do it.
Yeah, and so,
Um,
I wanna ask you, how do you market yourself as anonymous? Because 'Cause
mhm,
I've tried to run an anonymous business. It wasn't a content business, it was something else, but I could not get any traction because I was trying to hide my identity. So tell me more
right.
about the challenges of it and how you work around it.
Yeah. So, I had to build everything from scratch, from the ground up, because I couldn't let anyone I knew know about this, so they couldn't share it with everyone they know. So, since like I was doing it for fun, I was already building a following, and then I started monetizing. No, when I started monetizing, I had 11 patrons a month or like 14 a month. It was not huge. I was not making very much in the very beginning, but that definitely went up, making a lot more than I was back then. And so it was just putting my work out there, marketing. That's the biggest thing, the marketing, which I didn't realize how important it was at first. And I realized it's the most important thing you can do. So that is what has helped me so much. And I was afraid to market. That's kind of what it was. I was like, oh, I don't want to bother people. I don't want to do this. I feel so weird marketing. And it was getting over that. And that was something big I wanted to talk about on here. So yeah, marketing myself was the biggest thing. Like every single audio I put out, I have to market. And I make like a video for it and I do a whole thing for it. And so that's most important. And I guess just everything kind of combined, having free stuff out there kind of pulls people in and then they might look deeper and then look at the monetized stuff. And plus I have a community. That's another thing I want to talk about. And I actually started that before I was monetized, but you can do that with a Facebook group or a subreddit or whatever.
Mhm.
Having a community is huge because you can market everything through there. Plus, you can talk to everyone through there and they can see that you're a real person and you can relate to each other. And it's seriously, they can see that you're like one of their peers. And I think that's the biggest thing I've done. It's helped so much. And it helps with marketing too. It helps with all of it. But yeah, it's, I've been getting better at it with time, but
How'd you get
those are
over
the 2.
your block with marketing? Cause like, I have actually, this is for a dear friend of mine. She's in a different area and not necessarily creative, but I have a friend who hates marketing, And I know a lot of people do. My day job is marketing, so I'm a marketer. I don't have a problem with it. But
Right.
for the people who do, how did you overcome that fear of marketing?
Someone pointed out to me that the people who are super popular, who do what I do, they market like crazy. Like, they're marketing all the time. Why aren't you doing it all the time? I'm like, I don't want to bother people. I'm like, I don't want to do that. But I was like, I'm just going to do it. And if they, stop following me or they're annoyed, they probably weren't going to buy anything anyway. There is a woman, I think her name's Josie Lewis. She's an artist, and she does these little videos and stuff where she talks about tips, and she was talking about marketing. And she was like, it was for people who are afraid. And she said, do it. Market the heck out of your stuff. And you can do it several times. Just keep on doing it. Push those messages out. People who are fans and who like your stuff and want to pay for your stuff, they will. So
Mhm.
they want to hear from you. They want to see your marketing. They want to know what you're doing. People who don't really care, the people who, they don't want it, they're not going to buy your stuff anyway. So I was like, that's when the light bulb went off. And I'm like, you know what? That's so true. And so I've been just going off with the marketing.
Yeah, and I read something. I wish I could remember the specific numbers, but with podcasting or any type of content, there's a ratio. He's like, spent X amount of time producing it, but like triple that marketing it, which I didn't even know as a professional marketer because I market for other people's businesses, not my
Mm,
own, but for my own. So if I spend like whatever an hour putting together this podcast episode, my editor edits it for an hour, I should put like 3, 4, 5 more times of it telling people to come listen to it.
I did not know that. That's good to know.
Yeah,
Thank
so he says, "Oh,
you.
I spend more." Well, it just depends on whose philosophy you follow. That is this guy's philosophy, and I think it does make sense. But other
Hmm.
people who are really, what's the word? They're blood, sweat, and tears people. They say, "Oh, it's kind of like build it and they will come." Like just make the best thing possible. And instead of shout, actually, I think it was Bezos who said, instead of shouting about it, just make the best product possible. But I actually agree with the
I don't
other
think
guy.
that's no. Yeah, you got to
Yeah,
market. That's the biggest thing I found out. The biggest. That's the most important thing. If I don't market, I don't make money. That's
yeah.
nobody knows I put something out. People will forget about me. They won't be thinking about it. But if I'm in their face and I'm like, "Hey, remember I made this?" They're like, "Oh, yeah, I wanted to check that out. I totally forgot about it." So it's the biggest thing. And I try to do, like,
Exactly.
flashy marketing too to catch people's eyes, stuff like that. And so, yeah, and the other thing is, like, marketing something several times. I'll market again, like, a year later, because maybe someone just started listening to my work. So someone will, not be familiar with my work. Like, my past work, they just started listening 2 months ago, so I will market stuff from a year ago, 2 years ago,
Oh, yeah,
and
the
then
back
that'll be popular.
catalog.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, because 'cause I've got, like, 500 audios, so yeah, I've got a lot to market, although I don't really market I market the free stuff, but not like I market the monetized stuff.
Oh, yeah, of
So,
course.
yeah, so the monetized stuff is what I'm talking about, like, 2 years later, and I'm like, "Listen to this."
Yeah, and there's something I'm super curious about. So you have a Patreon, which is subscription based, and I have a phobia of it. So the plus side is recurring revenue. It is subscription, it
Mhm.
is money that comes every month, but that means like you have to work every month. How do you make sure you don't get burnt out? Because if you have people who are subscribed, like you can't stop working, like you have to work forever. So how
Right.
do you get around that or like not get tired?
That I had a huge fear of that in the beginning, and I think what it was just realizing, "Okay, I still like it even though I'm monetizing." But yeah, I mean, I don't know if there's a way to know ahead of time that it's gonna work for you. It's so hard to say because I have seen people just have to, like, shut down their Patreons or pause it for however many months. I've never paused mine, but I know, like, I know I have to keep working, and that's fine because I mean, I've been doing it for a while now, almost 3 years, so I already know.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
don't think about it, But, it's hard though, because if I get sick or something happens, I can't record, then I get really stressed and worried about it, but it all works out, I guess.
Yeah, and with you, you actually have 2 income streams or 3, because wait, don't you do voiceover work or no?
So, I don't do voiceover work. I want to, but I did, I'm gonna be doing an audiobook.
Oh,
So, I'm
nice.
gonna be doing my very first audiobook. I'm starting it this month, and so, like, that was a huge dream of mine, and I'm so excited. So, I'm getting into that now, like, Audible stuff, and I want to just keep on going and
Yeah, and
get, like,
oh, no, I was just gonna say you
voiceover.
have multiple streams of income because 'cause you'll have the Audible book, you have the individual stories you
Mhm.
sell, the originals, and the Patreon. So if something did happen when you have to pause your Patreon, you still have individual units for
Right.
sale.
Right. Now, the only problem with that is, like, that I do have to, like, market the heck out of because if I cannot make new audios, then it's
Mhm.
very hard to sell the individual ones, although I do have a lot of them, which is good. But I gotta market those because people are not gonna go to them without me, like, pointing them to the so again, it's
Yeah.
marketing. Like, even though it's there, you cannot just have it be there. You gotta constantly point people there.
Yeah, exactly. So it is. I like to call passive income scalable income because so many people call certain things passive. I'm like, that's not passive. You definitely have to work, but it's scalable because like once the product is made, you don't have to put in extra hours, and you can sell it to 10
Right.
people or to 10,000 people. It's
Mhm.
scalable, but it is not passive. You do not just like lay in bed and like some sales will come in, but not like a
Yeah,
ton.
exactly, some. Like, I mean, there will always be sales, there will, but not like, it'll be like $10 a week or, $10 a month if you don't
Yeah,
do anything at all. But if I am making audios and putting them up for sale, then what happens is people look at everything else I have, and then they'll buy something from 2 years ago, and then, they'll buy like 20 at a time, and that's when it's passive in a way. But still
yeah.
scalable because you have to put something out. You gotta still direct people there in some way, but that's a way when I did not point them to, any of the old stuff, and they found it just because they were looking at the thing I just put out.
Yeah, exactly. And like that was something I was confused about when I was young in business because I got fed a lot of ads about passive income and making money in your sleep. And you do make money in your sleep, but
Yeah.
like you don't just sleep the whole time. You definitely
Mhm.
have to do stuff.
Right, right. If you wanna keep it going, you have to do, marketing. If you wanna keep up that level,
Yeah,
for sure.
exactly. And
But
with
yeah,
books, you have to keep putting out new books or, or doing promotions or whatever. But the
right.
best advertisement is putting out a new
A
story.
new one. Yes, that's what
Yeah.
I found. Putting on a new one, 'cause that's the draw, that's what's getting if people are already familiar with your stuff or if yeah, new.
Exactly. Same with content. Like and like I'm just starting with this specific part of content. Whenever I put out a new YouTube short, I get more subscribers, and then the old videos get more views, or like a reel
Yes,
or whatever. So yeah, a new content breeds more viewers, more subscribers. So yeah.
exactly. So that's the way to do it. As I said, I've been sick, so it's horrible. I haven't been able to put up much new stuff. But once I do that, I'm gonna start getting the money back in. So at
Awesome.
least I know, like, this is what I have to do. It's okay. I can do
And you have the community. That's
it.
so important.
Yeah. So yeah, that's do the community, do the marketing. That alone, that's big. That's enough to do it. And I also want to start expanding to YouTube. And the thing is that I have to start from the ground up again. So I haven't done it because
Mhm.
I already have, this community that's already built, but like the YouTube thing will be something else. And I don't want to like combine the two. And so I haven't even started it because I'm like, I don't want to start from the ground up.
Wait, I'm super curious. How do you do YouTube anonymously?
Well, I would just use a new name
Mhm.
and that's the thing. Like, I don't know if it's possible. Well, it's possible, I'm sure, but if I can bring my 8,000 plus followers over to it, that would be wonderful. But I think I'd have to just start from the ground up and have people find it. And make a Twitter account, for that and then add people and do that whole thing. And I'm like, I already have enough stuff on my plate. I can't really
Yeah.
add more right now.
That's the constant battle as a content
Mhm.
creator, and I have a one of my personality weaknesses is I wanna do all the things at once, but it's impossible, so
Yes.
it makes it so
Yes.
nothing gets done, but I wanna do, like, so many platforms and so many
Same.
strategies, and
Same.
yeah, it's crazy.
Yes. I want to do all the things. I
Yes.
can't. I want YouTube to be like another revenue stream. Now you have to have 1,000 subscribers, 4,000 hours of stuff watched.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of criteria that you have to meet to be monetized on YouTube. And I'm like, okay. Now, if I did tell all my followers about it, I could probably meet that. But the thing is that let's say you get 100,000 views in a month and you're
Mhm.
monetized, $500. And all the work you have to do to get that $500 a month, like it's hard to make a lot of money on YouTube. And I'm like, you
It
know what?
is.
I can do that with my like what I've already built and make that $500 by putting the same amount of work into what I'm doing now and not go to YouTube. So I might just do it and just build on what I already have instead of starting
Yeah.
something new.
Yeah, what I like about YouTube though, it is hard to monetize on there as like a sole income source, like the AdSense. But I like the discoverability. It's a huge search engine. Well,
Right.
I wonder if that's how it would work for fiction. I think if you put some keywords in there, yeah. But I like the searchability of YouTube. That's my favorite part
That's
of it.
true. And so, I mean, that's kind of like Amazon too. And that's why that there is a draw there to be on Amazon instead of, doing your own indie thing. And that's the same thing. So yeah, it's that battle. Like, which should you do? But I kind of feel like I make more doing it the indie way than I would on like Amazon or YouTube,
How
which
so?
is
With
surprising.
because of the royalties are bigger.
Yeah, yes, definitely. Like Patreon, it takes I think 17% in fees,
Oh,
but
that's
that
kind of
money
a
is yours.
lot. Mm.
That's true. But
Yeah.
with YouTube, 100,000 people finding your stuff when 1,000 people find my Patreon a month.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
100,000 people needed for YouTube to make $500. And I make more on Patreon than that, which is the 1,000 people a month seeing it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like I make, yeah, a lot more than that. So
Oh,
it's
actually, I'm really glad you broke that out because one of my big missions with this podcast is to help people choose the right path for them
mhm,
and really look at the pros and cons of each path. Because a lot of people are selling courses on how to do it this way and that way, and
mhm,
so they just show the positive of each
right.
path. But break those numbers down again for Patreon versus YouTube and how many followers to make roughly the same amount of money, just so people can get this.
Okay. So, as I was saying, Patreon, if 1,000 people view my page, well, I don't get views for like how many, I don't get paid for how many people view it. So let's say I have 100 patrons. Let's say that makes me like $1,200. And then
Mhm,
on YouTube, again, 100,000 people need to view well, not 100,000, but there has to be 100,000 views.
mhm.
Think about that, 1,000 versus 100,000, and you get paid a lot less for that 100,000 than you do for having, like, your 100 patrons.
Exactly, and to play devil's advocate, so that's important, but YouTube is gonna be more passive because it's AdSense, you don't have to be there.
Yes, yes.
Patrons, you do have to work for your patrons, and
You do, it is more work,
and
I will say that, and it takes time to, like, build up that following, to get all those patrons, but for me, I'm like, "You know what? I don't think it's worth it because it's the
yeah,
same amount of work, I think, that it would be for YouTube. YouTube seems like it would be a lot more work to make a lot less.
it's a lot of work. Cause 'cause I've done
Yes,
YouTube on
yes.
a smaller scale, I've never even gotten to the point of monetization, but YouTube is a tremendous amount of work for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And then on top of that, so some people, what they do is they make stuff on YouTube and then they have a Patreon. And so then they can get like, thousands of people to subscribe to their Patreon. That's great that they can do that. thing is that's like YouTube's all safe for work pretty much. You have to do safe for work stuff. And so I'm not gonna have a safe for work Patreon. I'm not gonna make a
Oh,
whole new
right.
Patreon and like so I don't wanna say that's not a bad plan. If you're doing safe for work stuff, if that's all you do it. Do YouTube and then do the Patreon too and like direct people to your Patreon and you'll be in business. I can't do that's why I make a lot more by not going on YouTube.
Yeah,
But
because
people
I just
can
realized
probably
you can't do I don't even actually, there is a safe for work, but I guess it wouldn't be called erotica, I guess that would just be romance.
yeah.
But you
Although a lot
yeah.
of those get like shut down by YouTube, even just romance.
Really?
Yeah, YouTube's been shutting them down or taking away monetization at least.
That's
So that's what scares
crazy.
me about it. Because that's why I thought about it. I'm like, I could do romance. Oh no, I cannot. They did kissing and they got their monetization taken away.
Oh, and yeah,
So
because I noticed this is a little off subject of erotica and romance, but if you watch, like, the legal channels, like LawTube, they can't even say words like domestic violence, they have to say DV. You
oh my
can't say
gosh.
somebody got killed, people say unalived, which I think is very
Yes.
creative, but he unalived her. But yeah, it's real they are cracking down on what you
Yes.
can and cannot say.
Facebook, that's I see that on Facebook too. They're doing it in groups. You're not allowed to say those words anymore. Everything's
Yeah.
cracking down. So, yeah, I'll reiterate, if it's totally safe for work, completely 100%, go to YouTube, do Patreon, do it all because you could probably make a killing,
Yeah.
but you have to do a lot of safe for work.
Yeah, and then if you're not safe for work, indie is a way to go. I don't know how Amazon is doing. I got one book, a short story, put in the adult dungeon. Like erotica was allowed, but they said my erotica was too erotic, and it got put
Ah,
in the adult dungeon, and so it got hidden and it could not be found. So,
that's
but I don't know if they're
awful.
still doing that, but they had gotten really strict for a minute. So yeah.
Oh, see, that's the stuff that I fear, that kind of stuff, because, okay, this is something else I wanted to talk about with what I do and why it's kind of scary because, okay, there's PayPal, and different credit cards. They don't want not safe for work stuff. You're not supposed to, like, they are trying to make it so no one can use those services for not safe for work stuff. Now, what I do is not pornography because it's all acting, but it's still treated that way because it's not safe for work.
Oh yeah.
So PayPal says, no, you can't use us. And it's like, you know, doing it in secret.
Yeah.
That's what you have to do. You got to send invoices, not write PayPal anywhere. And then different credit card companies too, because Patreon's having issues too with this. Where they're different, like Discover Card, I think. They will not do like not safe for work stuff. So you have to, unless you send in your ID to show like your age and like real name, like all this other stuff. There's all these
Yeah.
hoops you have to jump through. So it's a mess.
That
They
sounds
really,
very stressful.
it is. I know OnlyFans, they got hit big, but they took it away. Like they had said that you cannot do this and this and this anymore. And then I guess they went back on it because everyone was leaving and they were losing all their money. But it was because the
Yeah.
payment processors. So I guess I don't know how they fixed that. I'm not on there, but I know they got hit with it. Patreon's been hit with it. And like there's a group that's been getting trying to get laws passed to basically get all this stuff off the internet.
Oh,
So
I've
it's
kinda heard
scary.
about it in passing, but, like, I haven't, like, had my ear to the ground in, like, this industry in forever, but, like, I'm a news junkie and I heard about it, but I didn't realize how it was really moving forward. I thought it was, like, a flash in the pan, some legislator suggested something and people moved on or something.
They keep trying. This group has been trying forever. I think they say that it's to protect children or the family or something. They use some excuse, but that's not it.
It's
It's
not
just
it
this
because
puritanical
yeah, a
thing.
lot of people in power, not to get political, I try not to get political on my show,
Right.
but a lot of people in power were on Epstein's island and all of that stuff, and they protected all their friends. So,
Right.
yeah,
So
that's
it's funny
crazy.
that they try to pretend like this stuff is so bad.
Right. Oh my
Mhm.
gosh. I'm not even in the industry anymore, and it makes me so
Yeah,
mad.
I know,
Yeah.
me too. So that's a worry about the future of this. Uh,
Yeah.
so I have to find other methods or ways to just go underground with my acting, my theater.
Right. Yeah, because that's all it is theater.
Be sure to come back next month for part 2 of this interview. And please follow, like, and subscribe to this show.